Okay, so welcome everyone to the June 19th Carpenter Working Group. So far, I don't see any project updates in the docs. Unless anyone else from AWS has one to chime in, I don't think we have any. Any from anyone else?
I can't remember if this was mentioned last time, but the AWS Squawk provider I think is pretty interesting. So I don't know. Did we talk about this in the last working group? Because I don't think I was there.
I mean, we talked about the Quack provider, but more in passing. Was there any like specific updates?
No, I don't think so. I mean, the only thing I would mention is that
Oh,
if
AWS Quack
yeah,
provider.
yeah, yeah, the
Yes, we did
AWS
not talk about that.
yeah. So I merged in a change I think a few weeks ago, basically that mocks out a bunch of the EC2 calls on the AWS side, so that you can effectively use the existing. Like you can use fake nodes to run the AWS provider. So you basically get an end-to-end like representation of Karpenter, as it were, deployed for the AWS provider using completely fake nodes. There still is a minimum requirement right now that you need to have an AWS account because it re-leverages the existing like subnets and security groups from your account, as well as like describes. But the actual like EC2 launches are fake. So it's pretty cool, I think. And you can kind of mess with a bunch of different things. Like you can mess with the strategy that's used to actually launch and select the instance types. You can mess with the rate limiting right now. I think we'll probably extend it over time to do some more interesting things. But yeah.
Yeah, super cool. Definitely nice given. Yeah, given there's definitely some performance impact from some of the providers in the AWS provider. So yeah, definitely super cool and useful. Any updates from anyone else? Or do we want to move on? Okay, I don't see any. In that case, there's also so far there's nothing in the doc. So I think we can kind of just open the floor at this point. If anyone has any RFCs, PRs they want to go over, any community questions, I would say at this point, because the dock is empty, the floor is open.
I had one question. There are a couple of fixes in core that we're interested in. I was wondering if there are any plans for the release of the next version. There was especially one related to scale down, fixing some blocking issues on scale down. For us, we caught it on a large cluster and we're interested in this particular fix, but everything else is also good.
Do you know what the fix was specifically, Alex?
Yes, I can look it up, but that's something that I think Jonathan fixed with the way there was something about the priority on scale down. I'll look up the PR and I'll share it. But it's already in main. It's just not released. So I was wondering if there are any plans for releasing the next version. I'll look it up and share.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I don't think we have any concrete plans on a release timeline at this point. I think it does kind of get to something I know we've discussed in the past, like probably should start working on a more concrete release schedule rather than the ad hoc releases when enough features pile up to a release that we've kind of been doing up till now.
Sounds good. Fair enough. Maybe a follow-up question. I know AWS providers sometimes have been, bumping up core to an unreleased version. Have you encountered any problems with that? Any kind of warnings against doing this?
So we don't release from an unpinned, like an unreleased version. Any like AWS provider release is going to be pinned to a released version of core.
Mhm.
For development, yeah, there's risk there, and then that there could be breaks that haven't been ported over to the AWS provider. I mean, I think generally Carpenter Core's been a lot more stable since v1.0, so that's not typically as big of an issue. Um, but I think in our case, at least, we're keeping pretty on top of what commits are going in. And usually the person bumping to a unreleased version in the AWS provider is the one who committed the changes in Carpenter core.
Right. Yeah, makes sense. Okay,
So,
thank you.
yeah, anything else?
I have a question where DRA is.
Sorry, you broke up a little
Like,
bit
what's
there.
our progress on integration? I said, I have a question on where DRA is. Like, I'm curious where we're at in the implementation of it.
I don't think we've started implementation. I think so far we scheduled to have another meeting for it today. Had a meeting last week to kind of discuss the initial what would an MVP in Carpenter look like and kind of get the ball rolling on uh, what the process for putting together a doc RFC would look like. Um,
Is this kind of like an open conversation, or is this just with like a couple of people that are interested?
I mean, it's open. There's a Slack thread that was discussing it. So the plan was to have meetings basically at alternating times to the working group. So like today, the working group's at 9, so DRA working group would be at 3 today, and then vice versa on the other weeks.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Did we surface this in a working group meeting before? Again, I missed a couple, so
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
yeah, we talked about it last week and the week before.
Okay, okay, cool, cool.
But yeah, no, as far as I know, unless there's some side work going on, no implementation progress to share at this time. Okay, yeah, anything else? Okay, I think we can probably go ahead and give everyone 50 minutes back then. All right, thank you all.